Good evening, everyone. For those that do not know me, I'm Banana Ann. I talk all things true crime. I covered this case extensively and followed this from the word dot as well. And I am going to talk about it today because, well, we get some crazy updates this week. Thank you so much for the heart me. Sorry, I was just sharing things out. Hi and welcome all in. Hi Jan, I hope you're well. Just this case just bugs me a little bit. Hi Hattie, welcome on in. I hope you're all well. Good evening, I hope you're well. So I never thought I would be talking about him again, ever, unless he in jail, which would have been there. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Anybody that knows me knows that by now. I never talk about, can't believe it either. I know it's his right. Thank you so much for the heart me, Hattie. I know it is his right. Do I think it makes it right? No. He does me as well. And I also today actually watched the new documentary on Netflix, which I was actually glad that I did. Hearing a little bit more from the Gonsalveses, and thank you so much for the heart me, and also just get a little bit more of an insight of them, just as people. Obviously, I know that there's been a couple of documentaries now. I've yet to see the Peacock one. And I've read the majority of the books. I won't read The Broken Plea, because I think that's a load of bollocks. Thank you for the follow, Babs. And thank you for popping up that treasure box, Hattie. There is some, thank you so much for the heart me, Mirangels. There is some, for those that do send a little heart me, there is some stickers for you all. You don't have to be a subscriber to get stickers because it's not fair. I'll just quickly post these so you know there is some stickers. Some of them are a bit silly. But obviously there is some stickers for people that do send in the heart me. All like taps are very much appreciated. All follows are appreciated as well. Please do follow each other too. I don't say it enough, because as much as you're here listening, good evening Mirangels, I hope you're well. As much as you're here for me talking at you, obviously it would be nice for you to follow each other, because it's always nice to get a little bit of support from people that you may not have seen before, and everybody has their own little thing. So it's my way of saying, you know, like, thank you for following me. It's very much appreciated, but do please try and follow each other as well, because it's nice to have a little bit of community. Yeah. Oh, thank you for the baby dragon and the doves. Thank you as well for the heart me. It was very much appreciated. But yes, please do, like, thank you for the wink winks. And thank you for the heart me, Babs. It is very much appreciated, of course. But so we are going to talk about this. So we're also going to talk about what happened as well. Thank you so much for the roses, Hattie, for those that obviously are unaware. About obviously what happened, who the Idaho 4 are. Thank you for the follow, Lady Victoria. Who the Idaho 4 are. What we know, and obviously because there's a lot more information that has come out as well. It's actually quite interesting to see a little bit of insights in the documentary that I watched as well in regards to, thank you so much for the heart me, Tara, and obviously with the documentary that I watched today, I never realised that, well, obviously I gathered they would have had more CCTV evidence of the car, but it was quite interesting to see different angles of the car as well. And in my opinion, he pled guilty. I should have been left at that. The families should all be left alone. When I watched, there was so many of you all actually that were sitting watching this when I was 2 hours late covering it, but when I covered the sentencing hearing and all the victim impact statements, like, it really does, I suppose, punctuate it very much home that these are people. It's not just another case, and it was lovely to see an insight on regards to them and get to, I suppose, in a way, get to know them a little bit as well. And so, why am I talking about this? Well, I think it needs to be discussed, especially as if you've seen my posts, and that includes the petition, which I will read out, as well as his handwritten affidavit, which his writing's horrendous, like utterly horrific. This time though, rather than me reading it from the small screen, I've got it up, obviously ready for me to go about it as well. So this is what happened. Thank you so much for the follow, me, Silver Tongue. Now, this happened in Idaho, 1122 King Road to be exact. The 4 in the middle, they were killed pretty brutally. And there, well, 3 of them specifically in their bed, one of which fought like absolute hell. Now, Bryan Kohberger, thank you for the follow, sweetie. Bryan Kohberger, the one who pled guilty last year, July last year, had his car was seen in the area on ring cams at 3:30 in the morning. And he drove around. It was seen again and again and again and again. Thank you for the follow, Dramala. And he had 30 so minutes to change his mind to not go in. But I think he was waiting for all the lights to go out, because all of them had been out. It was a Vandals game that was on. Vandals lost, but they were, thank you so much for the heart me. It was a Vandals game that was on. Vandals lost, but these types of things happened. The whole place was adorned with blue and gold, and it was very much a party atmosphere. And there was celebrations going. There was other things going on in different sorority houses. Ethan's female triplet, because he is a triplet, was getting some celebration things going on. So he went. He actually never partied with her, but he did party with his sorority. He got back with Zana Cornado. That's the one here. So that's Ethan and Zana. They were a couple. Zana did stay in the 1122 King Road property. Thank you for the follow, TikTok Big Gob. That's a really funny name, sorry. But he stayed with her, and he stayed a lot in the 1122 King Road house. And we all know, we've seen it, the food truck where we had seen Kaylee on the bottom and Maddie on her shoulders. Them there. We had seen them. She wanted to get back with her ex that she shared Murphy with. I told Adam everything, which we saw as she was coming down the road, was the fact that Adam was Jack's best friend, and she told him she wanted to get back with Jack. And she phoned him multiple times. Thank you so much for the rose. She phoned them multiple times as well. They were intoxicated. They were very drunk. Dylan and Bethany, like, you know, Dylan newly turned 19 as well, and had actually just freshly moved up into the room that she moved into as well, because previously that had been Kaylee's room, as Bethany and Dylan were both initially in the basement and on the main floor. That was where Dylan moved into. It was just off the kitchen, and Xana's room was there as well. And up the stairs we had Kaylee and Maddie's room. Thank you so much for the follow, Lord Anthony. They had moved, they had obviously, when one of the roommates had moved out, Kaylee had actually moved into her bedroom. She had just got a job, really well paid job actually, considering she was only newly graduated. She had just bought a brand new car. She was back, she went to party, she was showing it off, and she was obviously spending it with her sister by choice, Maddie. Eventually they had fallen asleep, and at around 4:07 in the morning, Bryan Kohberger broke into the property in the sliding glass door. Thank you very much for the follow, Mel's. Broke into the property through the sliding glass door off the kitchen. There was proof that it was only one person that went in, because there was one set of footprints going to the property and there was one set of footprints leaving. Thank you so much for the heart me, Kate. Bryan Kohberger went up the stairs, and this is where I believe that it was Maddie that was the actual target of this, because I believe it was the room specifically that was targeted, and he was able to stalk Maddie's room, look through the window when he was parked up at the top of the King Road house, and looking down into the Maddie's room would have been the first place that he would have seen. Maddie had a pink M in her window, as well as pink cowboy boots as well. Maddie and Kaylee were both in bed, and it is believed that Maddie was stabbed first, repeatedly, and at one point Kaylee woke up. Then he quite brutally attacked Kaylee to the point that she was almost unrecognisable. The blunt force instrument that was used, I think it was the heel of the K-bar that was used. K-bar, it's about 7 inches, really sharp, incredibly sharp. But at some point, whilst these two had been attacked, Xana walked up the stairs and she disturbed them. And in the being disturbed, he chased her down the stairs. He fought with Xana. And it would appear that when he had fought with Xana, perhaps because she had quite significant defensive wounds, like her attacks were 100% worse than that on her. It was heard on the neighbour's ring cam of Murphy barking, as well as the thud, which is believed that of Xana hitting the floor. Xana was on TikTok until about 4:12 in the morning. So actually she was scrolling TikTok and liking posts whilst the initial part of the murder was happening. She had consumed, or started to consume, her DoorDash order, which was a Jack in the Box. Jack in the Box was open later because it was a sporting weekend. When she was chased down the stairs, she knocked. Don't know how well, no, I understand what that. I mean, like, Dylan did hear things. I was going to get to that. And Dylan did hear things. Dylan heard quite a lot. She never realised what was actually happening with somebody being murdered, or at least 2 people had been murdered. So she was hearing things. Now, it's just to remind you, Dylan was newly 19-year-old. Okay. Pranks happen with sororities and fraternities. The fraternity home was just down the road, actually walking distance from the 1122 King Road house. And she was incredibly intoxicated. Probably far more intoxicated than what she should have been. She was underage drinking. And also, it was just to remind you that a Halloween party that had happened as well, there was a noise complaint. And when the police had actually turned up at the door, they were told that if anybody called, if there was any more noise complaints, arrests were going to happen. So remember, she was 19. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, is an amazing, wonderful thing. She did hear noises, but she didn't quite know what the noises were. In fact, she was so confused as to who she probably heard crying, because she thought initially it was Kaylee, and I got that from a little bit more of the body cam that I watched today, actually, on the documentary. And thank you very much for the follow, Mrs. Barclay. When he had, obviously, I think it was when Xana hit the floor, that big loud thump that you hear in the ring cam audio, that he's then attacked Ethan, and Ethan was asleep. There was debris in his hands, and it would appear there was some sort of hair in amongst the debris. Now, this was marked as being debris because his hand went down the back of the bed, so he would have picked up Xana's hair, and he actually would have picked up his own hair as well. So, which I'll get to more shortly when I start going through his petition. Upon leave, he then, after attacking and killing Ethan, he's then killed. Well, obviously at that point, Xana's probably got back up on her feet. It's believed that there was DNA crossed with Xana and Ethan on Xana's hands, and possibly because even though she probably couldn't breathe. Yes, exactly, Demi. She did fight for her life. She probably couldn't breathe properly because of the punctures that had obviously happened. So Tori, if you get stabbed like towards this general area, so that's your lungs, right? A natural thing that your body will do will one, you'll get winded. And it's not just, you imagine getting a sucker punched in the stomach and how winded you are, and you can't like vocalize anything. So imagine multiple sucker punches. And by that point, your body is doing everything to try and isolate that part. So the ability to be able to speak would be null and void. And if he went for anywhere near the jugular area, you can still fight even as you're dying. In fact, you can drown on your own spit as well if you inhale in the incorrect way. So screaming wouldn't be involved at that point, because by that point the sucker punches have already happened, the winding's already happened, the injuries to the lungs have already happened. So your ability to be able to vocalize or scream or do any of that is gone, absolutely gone. And if anywhere in the vocal area has been damaged at all, nothing would actually audibly come out rather than like a sort of gurgling noise, because the blood's here. It's not like the movies where you immediately think, oh, I've been stabbed, I scream. It doesn't actually genuinely happen. And remember, I mean, I'm a bit fatter now, but at the time when the K-bar was obviously first that would have went right through me. And I could quite imagine that if something went right through me at that point, my ability to like vocalize anything would be very limited and pretty much gone. So like, yes, no one did call the police, but like I said, now Bethany heard a noise and she thought it sounded like firecrackers. Now, what I think that what she's heard is when he's chased Anna down the stairs, I'm given the way that the blood splatter had gone. So that included if you're chasing somebody and you've got blood on your hands and you're swinging about a knife, because there was blood splatters on the stairs, there was also blood splatters on the wall, and there was blood splatters on the wall where the stair banister had obviously overlooked the wall down to the basement. And the way somebody, I don't know what the woman's name is, but somebody amazing who had worked in this field, that understands blood splatter as well, had actually given a very, very, very detailed explanation about how blood splatter works as well. And everybody goes on about the fact, but there was diluted blood on the beer pong table. Now, beer pong tends to be those beer pong cups, the wee red cups with the beer pongs, they tend to be filled with water. Now, if you look at the body cam footage when the police have gone in, obviously there's a lot that's been redacted, and that obviously is Anna's room. And then when they go up the stairs, we understand why there's a big redaction there, because that was Maddie's room. And also, so she's heard noises, but again, remember, there had been partying going on. There was people that was known to come in and out of the house. There was a fraternity just down the road. So thank you for the follow, Jess. So yes, the shoulda, woulda, coulda is an amazing thing to think about as well. But the watered down blood on the table was blood that had come from Maddie's room. And when the cup fell over, which was full of water, because there had been a beer pong that had been going on, because you can clearly see it's been set up for beer pong, so there was water in each of the cups, it was diluted by that. It was also diluted by a bit of alcohol as well, because there was alcohol present on that table too. So people said, but there was a clean-up and stuff, but there wasn't a clean-up. They didn't actually know. And yes, exactly, Demi, thank you. But, Tori, I totally understand the questions. Everybody had these questions, because we were literally like, she waited 8 hours? 8 hours to phone the police. That's a considerable amount of time. So I'm going to share a little story with you. I was old enough to know better in regards to this. Actually, both instances I was old enough to know better. So I've unfortunately heard 2 murders, but didn't call the police. The first one, it was when Hearts had won the cup against Gretna, and Liverpool had just won the EFA Cup as well. So there was a double celebration that was going on, and I was coming home from work, and I heard a commotion. So I chose, instead of going through the front door, which I normally would do, I chose to go round the back, which took me a bit of a longer direction. And I remember going, oh my God, that sounds so bad. I hope everyone's okay. I didn't call the police. I didn't call the police at all. Only found out it was a murder because I was painting my ceiling, because I was trying to get my house decorated. It was my first property that I'd ever been in, on my own, without flatmates and stuff. And my windows were open, and I suddenly realised there was a big, massive commotion going on, because I had my music up. Well, not too loud, but I had some music on. Obviously, I was painting the ceiling. And when I looked out the window, I suddenly saw forensics absolutely everywhere. So that was a first instance, but I immediately went into protect myself mode, and it was a self-protection, which is very known to happen as well. So instead of calling the police, like what a normal person would have said that they would do, and I was stone cold sober, just an FYI as well, but I went round the back, went out to my home, and just didn't think about it. And then a murder had happened. It was a mistaken identity, and somebody got beaten to death. So that was one instance. And this other instance, I was in my 30s, early 30, 31, something along those lines. And I heard a commotion, and it was a domestic, yeah, probably. It was a domestic violence situation going on upstairs. Now I'd heard argument coming from that home. Thank you so much for the follow, not again, Ashley. I'd heard arguing and all the rest of it going up. I constantly see the police going in and out of that, and knowing that the police were proper in and out of that property. And I still remember hearing a scream, then thud. A scream and then thud. And then what sounded like dragging. Instead of phoning the police, again, like what normal people would do, I was looking after one of my friend's teenage sons, and we'd been sitting watching Netflix, and we went into lockdown mode, and that was, I made sure my flat door was locked. We shut the curtains. We were being very quiet and we're sneaking around. We made sure the curtains were all shut. We turned off all the lights. The TV went down really low. And when I got a knock on the door by a police officer, a few hours later, the police officer gave me a massive telling off for not actually phoning the police, considering I'd heard something. But it wasn't a specific witness to anything, so obviously I didn't have to go to court or anything. So there is a self-preservation thing that will naturally happen, regardless of what age you are. And it's unfortunately one of those things. Yes, hindsight is a wonderful thing. She was afraid. But at the same time, she was so out of her face on alcohol. I saw the amount of alcohol that she had put away. And that's why her, but even then, yeah, I thought the only reason why I said that, the only reason I explained it like that, because I wanted to show an instance where me as a grown adult, not intoxicated in the slightest, where is self-preservation. Also, trauma. Thank you for the follow, Claire Marie. Also, trauma is also a self-preservation thing as well. Like, your brain will shut off about what's actually happening, and it's not until you start to go through that. Yep, I heard a thud. I'm working in the shop. Sound like a bin thud, so continue working it with a car. Now, car crash outside. Never even registered with me at the time. It never would. And if they thought it was pranked for friends, then why be scared for 8 hours after? So remember, they were incredibly intoxicated, okay? And they weren't awake that whole time. Not that whole time. And your brain, like I said, if your brain can possibly think that something, the most dramatic thing ever is going on, you're not going to think there's just been 4 murders. But your brain will go into shutdown mode as well. It'll start to shield you. Because your body's going into a huge amount of stress, that you'll start to question yourself. Did I really see that? Was I dreaming? Am I so drunk that I'm imagining things? She did suffer from nightmares before, but obviously now it's a considerable amount worse. And so when she's like, then we've all seen the text messages when she's sending the text messages, and they're both Bethany and Dylan are both back and forth saying, what the fuck, what the hell's going on, I'm scared, etc. Her phone was dying, like as in the battery, and Bethany has the one. Oh, no. I'm actually going to mention another thing as well, which will take me exactly to this is true. So, and this is when they've contacted friends. So it'll be a continuation of the answer. I'm happy to answer the questions as best as I can. Obviously, we weren't there, but I'm obviously just going by what's been said and how it's been processed, well, years later. I can't believe it's coming up for 4 years. It's just insane. When they went down the stairs, now it was known that Dylan might have been a bit of a drama queen and may have thought something was going on when something actually wasn't. So who out here can say that when they've had a friend that's been drunk and they're going on and on and on about something, and we're like, oh, here we go again, let's just shut them up. Let's just get them to go to sleep. Let's just shut them up. I'm so sorry that you've had that, because you're entitled to ask the questions, because the questions are just absolutely 100% natural. You're not victim blaming, you're just genuinely asking some questions, and I appreciate that as well. Like, honestly, you're absolutely fine. I don't mind. And yeah, like, she actually thought that she remembered at the time seeing Xana's feet, but nothing. It was mainly the conspiracy people. Oh, the conspiracy people annoy me. They're going to be loving this. Absolutely loving this. They're going to think everything's vindicated about what they said, so they're going to start rolling with it again. It's disgusting. So, she remembers briefly Xana's door being ajar and Xana on the floor. Now, Xana liked to party and have a drink. And I know I've left... I know I've left people that have been passed out, hammered on a floor before, and I've just went to my bed. Like, I've been to parties, and you wake up in the morning and you're like, where am I? And you're sleeping on a floor. It's normally a workmates or something, because you probably have afters from being on a night out. So, like, it's not uncommon to leave somebody that they think is intoxicated on the floor, which is very true. Did that with my ex most nights, which is fair. You know, they've got themselves at that state. They're drunk. Let's just leave them. They can deal with it in the morning. And I'm the type that just falls over in a bath and just sleeps in a night or drinking, which is totally fair. Yeah, and Tony, I appreciate the fact that you've been I don't know what just was said, but that's absolutely fine. Thank you, Hattie, for whatever it was that you've picked up on there. So, I'm waiting to see Spider-Man. My son will definitely come back again, though. Oh, thank you very much for the follow, and thank you for being respectful and asking questions as well. Okay, Hattie, thank you. So, obviously, Dylan's gone down the stairs, and Bethany's normally probably heard the please do enjoy Spider-Man as well. Hope it's really good. Now, Bethany's placated Dylan. They've tried to make some more phone calls, and they've not been able to get an answer, so they've probably went, do you know what, they're probably drunk, we'll deal with it in the morning. Right. And then the morning's come, and Bethany's been suffering from toothache. And Dylan's probably sporting quite a significant hangover by this point, and is probably still quite intoxicated as well. And so then they start reliving things and questioning things and reliving things and questioning things, and it's a lot of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then one of them contacts their parents. I know. Imagine reading the last phrase. I mean, just the eyes and the eyebrows alone were horrifying. But they've then called. Bethany's called her parent. Probably still got quite a freaked out Dylan. Did I see that? But should we do something? Should we have done anything? What was that? How come I can't get a hold of them? How would not been able to get? It'd be that ramblings of, should I have done something? Okay, we're still not getting a hold of them. What did we do? And then they start messaging their friends. Have you heard from Xana, Ethan, Kaylee, Maddie? And they're not getting a response from anybody. So then their minds are going into more and more overdrive, and more, oh my God, what's going on, blah, 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 blah. Thank you so much for the follow. I'm going to say Leanne, since I noticed the wee slash there. And then they've been advised, yeah, but actually they weren't advised at that point to call it. It was a suggestion was put in 911. Sorry, a suggestion was put in, maybe call 911. But at this point, they've contacted. Well, Dylan's contacted a friend who was girlfriends with. Yes, correct. Either way, police even said if they did get called right away, they wouldn't have survived. I agree. But when they've called their friends, who. Hunter Johnson was the boyfriend, and Dylan's own friend says, "Oh, do you want me to bring pepper spray?" because they were used to this. They were used to Dylan making a mountain out of a molehill and exaggerating and things sounding worse. Now, that's not, obviously, again, you see how hindsight works? Still, even one of your friends, oh, it probably sounds worse than it is, and has laughed it off with, do you want me to bring pepper spray? And it was thanks to, it was Hunter going up the stairs to check, and he's went in he's opened the door, he's seen his sorority brother and a friend, and it's pretty clear they're dead. They've then called 911, and Hunter Johnson saved these two girls, as well as everybody else, the additional trauma of what he saw. Because what he saw would have been an absolute bloodbath. And certainly not something that he wanted to traumatise these two of. You can tell, obviously him saying, call 911, it would have been enough to spark the fear and panic that was already going through Dylan's head. Because she knew by that point, it was pretty obvious by that point, something bad's happened, but he's not revealed what it is. He said that she's unconscious, so she won't wake up. So 911 were called. And I've heard the 911 audio. Yeah, he said that Xana was unconscious. I've heard the 911 audio like a million times. Actually, I can find it on my Discord and I can play it for you if you really wanted to hear it. And the phone is passed around and passed around. And you can hear Hunter in the background saying, Xana, Ethan, Xana. And then he tells them, because they're clearly going up the stairs, he clearly says, get out. Thank you very much for the follow Haggis Hunter. He's said, get out. Then he's went back just to doubly check if there was a pulse or if any of them were breathing at all, on the off chance. He didn't know if anybody was there. He had a knife with him from the kitchen. Yes, of course, I'll bring that up as well. That's not a problem. I don't mind bringing this stuff up. It's absolutely fine. My Discord is actually crazy. Oh, thank you so much for the heart, mate. But it tells him to get out. There we go. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Go away. Go away. Why your search thing is so annoying? Right. Sorry, because obviously, yes, I think Bryan Kohberger did it. I think he did it 100%. I don't see it being anybody else. No, it's absolutely fine. Obviously, I actually have talked about this case considerably. Hi, boys. Like, I mean, I've got witness lists. I've got things about Kaylee's journals, the body cam that was released, handwritten complaints, and poor thing, he's all upset. 4 different books, interviews. Thank you so much for the heartbeat. I've got Google Drives, which is like, if he didn't do it, he didn't do it, he did. But if he didn't know how to do it. Exactly. It's like that sheath. He was disturbed from Xana, and Xana was the one that ultimately helped get justice for them all. Like, and in doing so, unfortunately, she was murdered at the time. But that sheath being left, there we go. He's ready to play it, okay? So this for the 911 call, and this is the 911 call in full.
11:55 a.m. 42 seconds, November 13, 2022. 911 location of your emergency.
Something is happening. Something happened in our house. We don't know what.
What is the address of the emergency?
1122.
What is the rest of the address?
Oh, Kings Road.
Okay. And is that a house or an apartment?
It's a house.
Can you repeat the address to make sure that I have it right?
Thank you for the phone, Sparkles.
I'll talk to you guys. We live at the light, so we're next to them.
I need someone to repeat the address for verification.
The address, 1122 King Road.
And what's the phone number that you're calling from?
What's your phone number?
Thank you for the follow, Jamie.
And tell me exactly what's going on.
One of the roommates has passed out, and she was drunk last night and she's not waking up.
Okay.
Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah.
And are you with the patient? Okay, I need someone to keep the phone, stop passing it around.
Can I just tell you what happened pretty much?
What is going on currently? Is someone passed out right now?
I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m.
Okay, I need to know what's going on right now if someone is passed out. Can you find that out?
Yeah, I'll come. Come on, but we gotta go check. But we have to. Did you have help? She's not waking up.
Okay, one moment. I'm getting help started that way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and how old is she?
She's 20.
20, you said?
Yes, 20 here to
Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, I need someone to stop passing the phone around because I've talked to 4 different people.
Hey, sorry, they just gave me the phone.
Is she breathing?
Hello?
Is she breathing?
No.
Okay.
You need to talk to them, okay? I can't talk to them. They need you to talk to them.
Hello.
Okay. I've already sent the ambulance and law enforcement. Stay on the line. If there is a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it.
Say that again? There's a police here right now.
Okay. If there is a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it.
We don't have one. I think yes. Do you have a defibrillator? Yes, you have one.
Are you talking to the officer?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to let you go since he's there with you and can help you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay.
11:59 a.m. 49 seconds, November 13, 2022.
So that's the 911 call. So just me as I am, I'm basically talking about the Idaho 4 university students murders, which happened on the 13th of November 2022, and they were killed between 4:07-ish to around 4:20. We'll just say it's that. It's roughly about the right amount of time. So that was just a 911 call that was initiated. And like you can clearly hear Hunter saying, "Get out, get out." and the panicking breath of somebody that's just seen something, the most horrified way. That was Hunter breathing down because he had obviously very welcome, Tara. I mean, I remember being shocked that it was released, but this was released as a FOIA that somebody else had put in. Initially, it was just I don't believe it was. I thought all the creators were talking nonsense. I was just like, why would they put the 911 call out this early? Why would that have been allowed to be done this early? It's not even going to trial yet. Well, not so that the fact it was early. It's not going to trial yet. You would think that the 911 call would have been out when it was at trial, or no trial. So the FOIA afterwards. So I was shocked. So I believed that it was. So I was messaging another person that covered this case because I know that they had the audio file. And I said, is this transcript true? So I sent him a snippet of the transcript, and he got back to me saying, yes, it was. Who do you think was the intended victim? Feel like they're around the way in collateral. So, Demi, I think the intended victim was Maddie. And I've always said that I thought it was Maddie. He wanted to kill somebody. He brought that K-bar and the K-bar sharpener from his parents' home in Pennsylvania. And he had purchased that in March. There had been a couple of instances where there was stalking going on when he was in DeSales University. And one of the deals to get away from DeSales University, well, he was to drop out ultimately, or there would be criminal charges that were brought against him. The other one, it was rumoured to be him, but it wasn't sure. There was also a sort of weird stalking incident that had obviously happened in where he stayed as well, because friendly somebody and things were going missing. He was the one that installed the cameras into our home, so he had the password. Things were going missing, turning up, and he was the good Samaritan. So he wanted to kill. Clearly had been wanting to do this for a while. I believe that Bryan Kohberger is an incel. It is alleged that he's still a virgin. He was awkward. He was a cunt, actually, to be fair. One of the people that, and it was when I was actually paused it because I was speaking to my partner, and it just come up when Bryan Kohberger was like quite rude to women that wrote things and stuff, and he was described as being a bit of a dick. I think he was an incel. He had a weird fixation on Elliot Rogers, who is a very well-known incel. And he, because when he did the paper with one of his friends back in DeSales on Elliot Rogers, he basically wrote it, and obviously there would have been a certain amount of information that his partner, the buddy that he buddied up with, was on. But no, he was a bit of a dick. He was he hated women, he hated the females in the class, he was awkward with them. I mean, he got fired as a TA in Washington University because of his actions specifically towards the female classmates and students as well. Thank you so much for the heart me, Jerry's mum. So he wanted to murder, and when that day that it went to the barbecue, allegedly was the first time that and that was in July, end of July, that was allegedly when the first time the cell phone towers picked up his phone in the area. And he had the house. The house was initially the target. It was a weird position. Probably drove past it. Probably thought, oh, actually, it's quite an interesting house. Close enough to people, but close enough to a road, but far enough to make it for a little bit longer for somebody to be able to see. Almost isolated, but not fully. I mean, everybody saw the picture of the Idaho home. the way that although there was neighbours, there was a fair bit of distance between the neighbouring properties. Not massive, but if you think about the UK, that's generally a large expansive area between the properties that were surrounding the Idaho home. So I think it was that, and that's why I mentioned at the start with Maddie and the pink M with the cowboy boots. She was an incel's worst nightmare, because she was just typical Stacey, the pretty one, the popular one, the one that was a life and soul at a party, in a sorority, everything that incels actually hate, because they can never get anywhere near like your Stacey's. So a sorority, specifically a sorority, are a big massive trigger for an incel. I've done a lot of homework in regards to what incels thingy, and I can never remember some of the other names, but yeah, so that's why I think that Maddie was the intended victim. And Kaylee wasn't meant to be in that room that night. And he probably thought that Kaylee had went through to a room. Or we're still in the downstairs. We're still in the downstairs room. Like I said, Kaylee Notlooks has moved up to the room as well. And Dylan initially was down in the basement room beside Bethany's room. And Dylan had Notlooks has moved up there. So it possibly could have been that even though he was stalking the place, he's tried to be a bit more careful because he had stalked the place. It would appear that potentially maybe a shadow was seen, but again, it's only what Dylan had said in her interview, that she believed, and that Kaylee believed that she saw a shadow when she was out walking, when she was letting the dog out do his business. And there was also the incident where the girls had all went for a Starbucks, and when they got back, a door was left open, and it was clear that somebody had been in. An incel is an involuntary celibate. So it's just shortened down. So it's tends to be more the male generation, male generation, males. So they are normally, some can be like really well off and stuff and don't understand. Thank you so much for the heart, me, J. Lou. And for the flame heart as well, very much appreciated, and the go popular as well. So an incel, like I said, they're involuntary celibate. They're usually virgins. Elliot Roger, for example, he had a lot of money behind him, but he was also awkward as hell, and he had no charm and no personality, and he thought he was superior and hated your Stacey's and your Chads that could fall into any relationship, and he was angry that he wasn't in a relationship. And I'm only going by Elliot Roger because obviously he was as dodgy as they come. He had a whole manifesto and stuff, like Elliot Roger crazy. But incels, they hate your populars, and specifically because they've never got with a woman and never experienced that sort of intimacy, they hate women. They begin to despise them. So it makes them more awkward around people and stuff. And if rumours are true, well, maybe he did have a bit of social difficulty in a generalised basis, because allegedly he is on the autism spectrum disorder. I hope that answered the question, and I'm sorry if I'm missing anybody that has been dropped the follow, by the way. I don't mean to in the slightest. If only dogs to speak. Totally agree. I'll see you shortly, Miranda. Sorry, I try when I'm, just to say, like, when people join, it obviously pops in this thing. So if I'm scrolling, if it looks like I'm ignoring you, I'm really not. I just try my best to get back to it. So I apologise if you think that I'm ignoring. I'm not. I try and get to the comment and reply to the comment before I go to the next one, because I know that people have got questions, which is understandable, especially gets around in this case. So that's ultimately what an incel is. They're horrible people, and they do tend to be men. I know there is females, but they're not as well known. The female incels. There is mainly males. And you may know the manosphere, you know, like with that Andrew Tate, for example, and there's a lot of incels that are part of the manosphere as well. Well, not always, but the crossover between the manosphere and incels is very, very close together on a generalized basis too. Now, it took until after that 911 call, after the murders, after they had all been taken away. I have just watched it actually, Demi. I didn't think I was going to see anything new, but I actually did. Yeah, the Netflix documentary was very well done. Like, hats off. If I had a hat off to Netflix for how well that documentary was done. Very well. They were very thorough on this case, yeah. So that will only just drop today. And what is it? If you really don't know about this case, so it's the Idaho College. No, is it the Idaho students' murders? Something along those lines. If you put in, it's actually, because it's just been released and because so many people are watching it, it's actually number 1 in Netflix at the moment, even though it was only released at like midnight. So that's the, I tell you, we talk about the brand new, only dropped today, brand new Idaho documentary, and it's on 4 parts as well. It was very good. 3 parts, 4 parts. 3 parts, sorry, 3 parts. Very, very good. They're about 40 minutes long per episode, so not too long. It's easily bingeable. And it is. They were incredibly interesting. What is that police officer theory about? Oh, is that when they... I just got put on. It is really interesting. Highly recommend. I did think the One Night in Idaho. Thank you for the follow, Cheyenne. I did think the One Night in Idaho on Amazon was good as well. But the Netflix one, Idaho Shootout Murders. Yeah. So on Netflix, the Idaho Shootout Murders on Netflix is very, very good. I've not watched that, but I have heard it is definitely worth a watch. So I was always going to be coming on to talk about this. I was actually going to talk about it yesterday, but what's that? What? Sorry, you were talking. Somebody was talking about police theory. Police officer theory is the fact that it was a police officer that did it, and that they decided that they were going to choose a random name out of a random list of suspects and plant DNA evidence surrounding them, and as well as the car. But how would they get a name of Bryan Kohberger? I mean, what did they, if you go down that theory, which is ridiculous, so that's basically saying that a policeman killed them because of drugs that were involved. Again, this is just going by the theory about what one of them says and that, and it has pissed me off for the longest time. So if I roll my eyes or shake my head, it's because it bugs me. But they alleged there was Brett Payne, the police officer, and that it was all a lie, and they decided to plant evidence because the first walkthrough they never saw the knife sheath because it's not as visible. When actually, when you're first walking through, you would have seen the gruesome murders as opposed to anything that was established nearby, and they certainly weren't expecting to find 2 more bodies. Remember, the 911 call was initially for an unconscious person, not 2 murders, which they walked into. And then when they are like taping things off and they go back in, and there's obviously saying, Idaho police, if you're still there, show yourself, that usual briefing, and then they go up the stairs, and then that reaction of, oh fuck, because they've just found 2 more. Unconscious person turned into a double homicide, turned into a quadruple homicide. So the initial walkthrough, they wouldn't have seen any of that. So what the theory is, that because the initial walkthrough they never saw the sheath, and how dare they not see the sheath? If the sheath was there to start with, then blah blah blah. It was planted, that's a whole load of bollocks. It's what people want to say because they don't like the narrative and they're pretty much a pro-burger. And I hate Bryan Kohberger. Yes, he actually had a PhD. He in it as well. Like, he was very intelligent. He's very book smart. I will give him that. Very intelligent to a degree. Was obsessed with Ted Bundy, was obsessed with Elliot and Roger. I've actually been nicknaming him, and I've been nicknaming him this since Monday because it was the only thing that I could find that fits. I've been calling him the Mr Temu Bundy, because his selfies and stuff very much like tried to copy and emulate Ted Bundy in pictures. I'll definitely check it out to say. I'll check the toxic relationship out. Yes, Hattie, it is a bit far-fetched. Like, there's no way in hell that it could have been randomly... A person wouldn't be randomly picked with the DNA, with touch DNA, and it was found in the inside of the clip. So, on a clip in general, it's the same with wires. You get the male side and the female side. So that's the female side. So the touch DNA was in that female. Was primarily found in the female side. Meticulously cleaned, unfortunately, there was touch DNA. Yes, he had indeed, and was not back. And yeah, his touch DNA was on it. I followed this case from when it hit the news in the UK. I followed it from about, I remember seeing it, I seen something and I thinking it was in, because it said Moscow, I thought it was Russia. And I think it was maybe about the 14th or 15th, the first time that I saw it. And then on TikTok, it was absolutely everywhere. So yeah, I followed it from the word go as well. I lived in a club, this when it came out. I'm like, I still don't think he planned. No, he never planned them all. There was one person that he planned to kill. And I was going to point it out to her exactly. This is the person I believed he planned to kill. And unfortunately, the other three, and I hate to say it, and it's no, this isn't a disrespect to the other three victims in the slightest, and although I'm sure that even if one from the family members did see this, I'm sure they would know that I'm not saying it as any hate towards, oh, that's not going to sit straight properly now, it's just going to be fine what it is. So yeah, Maddie, I believe, was the intended victim. She was the target, and unfortunately the rest of them were collateral damage. And that sounds like a horrible thing to say, but that's not taken away for the fact that Kaylee did have more defensive wounds on her than what Maddie had. Maddie had clearly woken up at one point when she was being stabbed, because she did have some defensive marks on her. Defensive marks can be as literal as you've done that and there's been damage. So defensive doesn't always mean fighting. Defensive can just literally be somebody doing that. Because people have asked that. And but obviously Zana fought like fuck. She fought for her life. Thank you very much for the follow, Grey. Back. Hi, Gimmer Angels. It wasn't easily planted, Cat Lady. I thank you for the follow, Cat. Are you asking why I don't think it was planted? Because that'd be the most ridiculous thing that you could actually say. So, Cat Lady, it was planted. So they just decided, after they found a murder, we need to frame somebody for this. And we're going to waste all this time and resources because we've already decided who. The name wasn't anywhere on their radar until over a month after the murders had happened. And then they had to build a case to do the probable cause affidavit in order to be able to do the arrest. So you're telling me that his car, that was seen multiple times, and actually a Netflix documentary actually showed it more as well, of when they had followed and traced the car, and when they were able to trace the car as well. They had decided that they were going to use this person they were gonna, and that the real killers had decided to, I don't know, kid on the Rosanna by going through her phone, kid on the Rosanna by going through her TikTok, explain the content, her stomach contents, as the fact that it was partially digested food from what she had actually ordered for Jack in the Box as well. And they decided that they were going to pick on somebody that had had a couple of traffic stops. That's why the fact that this is all planted and the DNA was planted is bollocks. Can you tell us why this is your opinion that there's nothing to directly link him to her? So, Cheyenne, the reason why I think that was why Maddie was the intended target. So when any vehicles passed the top road, and I'm calling it a top road because obviously there was a verge that went up to her, right up to it. When you went down and went past the property in general, I believe initially it was the property that was the target because of how the property was situated and the fact that the neighbours were far enough away to maybe not hear noises. He's driven about a little bit because he's wanted to kill somebody. He's an incel. He's wanted to kill. He's wanted to carry out his criminology degree, his you know, his PhD and all the rest of it. He's angry at the world. He's angry at absolutely everything. He's desperate to kill. He bought the K-bar back in March. With a knife sharpener as well. He's driven around and he's found this property. And at first, I think the first time, my opinion is the first time he's went past, he's went, oh, that's the property. The second time he's went past, it could be that Maddie had her light on in the window. And in the window was M, with pink cowboy boots. And maybe he's caught her. Because I think he was an incel, he's seen this blonde-haired girl, probably laughing and joking with Kaylee. And every time afterwards that he's went past, he's seen that room time and time and time again. And that's why I genuinely believe that Maddie was the intended victim, because initially Kaylee wasn't in the top room. She had only recently moved up to the top room because she was actually used to be in Dylan's room. And Dylan used to be in what was the spare bedroom down the stairs next to Bethany's room. So that's why I do believe that. I don't believe that any of that any of them were supposed to, any others were supposed to be killed. I believe it was Maddie that was the intended victim. Yeah, he did only leave the knife sheath because he was. Thank you for the follow, Julie. I'm talking about the Idaho 4 case, Debbie. Yes, Jerry's mum in the documentary, you hear the shock. Exactly. Maybe did. His phone was not there for a few months and he was, yep. Yeah, like, he'd never went back to the blood on the banister down the stairs. It was confirmed that it was dried in old blood. So Lily, that's what I've tried to figure it out, and I was just like, I'm sure that everybody else has, but for me it's the only logical reason. So that's what I think is the only, in my head, that's the only logical explanation that I generally do have. Unalivers do pick houses, they do watch houses. Yep. I think he's guilty as well. It's not even by the road. Yes, but Maddie's room can be seen as well. Cat Lady, he came in. Thank you so much for the rose, Laura. Appreciated. And Cat Lady, he never saw the front of the, well, probably never really saw the front of the property. Not previously. Bill Thompson said there was no evidence that he had ever been in the house previously. Kohberger meticulously cleaned it up. I disagree, girl mother. He is locked up already. There was nothing, there was no, but Imagine he's definitely guilty and you're all sticking up for him. Exactly. Thank you, Lily. Thank you, Jen. There is no way that he didn't do it. Thank you for the follow Laura Bubba 5. Oh no, you're absolutely fine, Hattie. It's absolutely fine. Oh, I keep doing that. I really got to learn TikTok better. Okay. So, girl mum, if that's the case, okay, explain how Zana's got partially digested food from the Jack in the Box delivery, which was delivered at 4 o'clock. I mean, you can see the DoorDash turning up for that. If he was allegedly murdered between 12:29, you do realise that people were coming back, and you do know that there is people that were sitting watching Vampire Diaries with Dylan, right? Like, you can see his car. You can hear the dog going, you can hear Murphy going crazy. You hear that thud. Zana was on her phone, so it wasn't planted. It wasn't just they never just decided that I'm going to close my eyes, we'll go for this random list, stop there. They never just decided that. Come on, think logically. And I am going to speak to you like that because logical thoughts. Not the, oh, but have you seen this? I've also seen the doctored Linda Lane footage that somebody got in a lot of trouble for as well, which I do believe is still going around the internet as well. And his phone never once... It is fine to have an opposing view, but when it comes to the point that it's so ridiculous that it's been debunked time and time again, but that is still getting pushed out there, it's screaming being a Kohberger. Like, have you seen... Did you see his questionnaire? It's basically him asking how to murder somebody and to get away with it. Like... I've said this time and time again, and I know people hate me for it. I'm happy to answer questions, but when it comes to the point that it's so far-fetched, I'm going to call it out for it is, and that's bullshit. And he admitted guilt. There is 64 terabytes worth of evidence against Bryan Kohberger. Netflix showed me camera footage of his car that I'd never seen before today when I sat and watched it. Yeah, like, there was partially digested food in her stomach. It was said as such. It was on her autopsy as well. Honestly, like, seriously, like, when this case first broke, okay, I was like, how is that even possible that 4 people get murdered in their own home? And how is that even possible that 2 got found left? Well, it's actually happened in quite a lot of murders, actually, when there's been serial killers have went around. In fact, Ted Bundy left somebody alive in their own home. Does that mean it was actually the roommate? The Gainesville murders. He left 2 people, walked straight past them, in fact. Walked past people in a sofa. So does that mean the Gainesville murderer wasn't really the Gainesville murderer? You know, these things do happen. That murders do actually happen and people can survive in the same house because it's happened before. Unfortunately, you don't really think about the safety and security of your own property until something recent happens. Like, if I had any doubt whatsoever about this, do you not think I've gone down the rabbit hole? Do you not think I've gone down the, well, what if he never? Is there any possibility at all? Am I looking at this from am I being really biased in regards to this? And I'm not. That petition, which I'm going to get to, is an absolute load of absolute bollocks nonsense. Actually, Hattie, if she continues, yes. She did definitely have the some of the foods. Thank you for the follow, Debbie. And I know that you, like, I've actually explained all of that as well. I've explained it with minute detail as well. Like, I hate the fact that I donated to Dylan's GoFundMe, by the way. Like, Dylan is much a victim as this as anything else. I listened to her break her heart on the witness testimony. She was shaking like an absolute leaf. She couldn't even look at him. She's had nightmares. She can hardly sleep at night. Because she wakes up with night terrors. She was a freshly turned 19-year-old girl who had been absolutely smashed on alcohol the night before. So maybe perhaps she was imagining and hearing things at the time, as she's not a liar, cat lady. And Hattie, feel free. Because at the end of the day, like, if you can't think of it in a logical way, I even explained my 2 instances of where, but probably I could have, like, I mean, maybe somebody's life could have been saved and I did it twice. Yep, there is no way that anybody on this earth could say how you would react to that, and knowing, and I donated to her GoFundMe and I shared the bejesus out of that GoFundMe, because you know what, she deserves all the help she can get. All the help she can get. In fact, Bethany was so traumatized that she couldn't even be there. Like, the bravery and the courage that young lady did when she turned up at the hearing, at the sentencing hearing, and broke her heart on that witness stand. I cried hearing that the first time round. So when I heard it the second time round, when I was live with it, I made sure I was able to keep myself in a bit more check. But even then, I was still doing that, because it's a genuine. You can act only so much, to the point that there is only so much that a person can act, and that was sheer trauma. I've never actually seen somebody request not to be able to sit in a different place other than what would they do if their family was affected by this? Would they still stick up? Yes, I agree. Like, this, like, yeah. I've listened to a majority of them. The only one that I've not got through all the way to the end would be Jack's. But I have listened to Dylan's, and I just wanted to remind everybody as well. So do you know when you're absolutely blackout drunk, and the next day, even if you're still a wee bit intoxicated and you wake up the next day, do you know that your recount of what had happened won't actually be exact the following day? Do you know when your brain's experienced a significant amount of trauma, and this is actually genuine? Thank you so much for the heart me. Do you know when you've experienced a significant amount of trauma, that your body, that you may have actually seen things? It's not an appeal. It's not an appeal, and I will explain that. And sorry if you think that I'm like ignoring any taps or anything. I'm really not. I appreciate you all, because I know that like, I don't understand why more people couldn't be like that person from earlier when they were being so nice of asking the questions. But you know, when you know, there's a reason why witnesses to a crime are asked for re-questioning and asked for new statements. Because at the time when your mind goes into a significant amount of shock, and I'm trying to remember this from what somebody had actually explained this, and they worked in the psychology field as well, and I appreciated this person so much. When they initially are questioned, there's going to be a lot of things they don't remember. There's going to be a lot of things that's going to get muddled up. There's also going to be that, did I see that? Did I see that? Did I see that? So there's going to be a lot of questioning as well. And when your mind will automatically shut down specifically to block out specific trauma. But he pled guilty. I sat there and watched him say and respond to Judge Stephen Hippler. The thing is, people are saying you can do it on 12 minutes. Do you know he had more than a time? He could have done more. He probably stopped to take a breather after all of that. Adrenaline. Also, like, I'm going to mention this, and yes, exactly. He also got a lot of evidence taken off the table as well. Now, Mr. Kohberger, or Mr Temu Bundy. Yeah, I'm going to stick to calling him Mr Temu Bundy because I prefer it. So Mr Temu Bundy, yes, he did it alone. It has been, defense tried to debunk that, but when they did it again, when it was done again, there was actually 7 minutes of Temu Bundy title. Yeah, it's the only thing that I can call him, because that is exactly what it is. He wanted to be the next Ted Bundy and he failed. And I am so thankful for Kaylee being there. For Xana interrupting him. Because by golly was that knife sheath with his touch DNA no the big massive thing. But yeah, Julie, I do think it was done alone. It's been proven multiple times. Yeah, so my opinion on this was it was Maddie, it was the target. Initially it was the home. Then he found a room that he could easily see into as he drove past. So that's who I do believe that was the intended target. Because especially the fact that it was done in Maddie's room. And initially Kaylee used to be in the room that Dylan was in. The roommate initially that had Kaylee's room had moved out. You'd probably seen the fact that, so okay, and I'm 41, my lives are on over 18, that's why I'm able to swear and obviously discuss things the way I do. So I'm going to have a cigarette that's going to come up as a substance warning. I apologise in advance. All lives will look out over 18. So the reason why I think it was Maddie, and I have explained this, so I'm not taking away for this, but because some people was like, but that's never been known. So Mr Temu Bundy had purchased the sheath. Well, no, purchased the sheath. Purchased the K-bar and the sharpener back in March. So he purchased it back when he lived in Pennsylvania. There was an instance, perhaps more than one instance, where he was stalking. He actually got a little asked to leave the sales. He was lucky to graduate. And the women, well, the university student that he was stalking had no idea until the dean asked her. So anyway, but he'd bought the knife, and because he was an incel, or in my opinion, again, all of this is my opinion, when he got knocked back when he was at the barbecue pool party, some of the married women that he was being really creepy with, more than once, to the point that her boyfriend had asked her to go away. Even though he got a number and was mentioning somebody else about hiking, but anyway, the rage that he felt because he was knocked back by somebody that he thought was pretty. Then he's went on a drive, that night, or it was just after, but it was definitely in the same week. And that was because that was the first time that his phone had pinged near 1122 King Road. When he's walking past, he saw a semi-isolated, fully detached property, and he's went, it's an interesting house. The house has stood out to him. The house has caught his attention as he's driven past. And when he's driven past again, he's been able to see Maddie's room. So and she probably had her lights on at the time, and it was the pink M in the window and the cowboy boots. And he potentially saw Maddie, because her dressing table wasn't too far away from that as well. And he's seen her as a Stacey. That one that all incels hate, the one that are the life and soul of the party, really popular, and is seen as probably like a really pretty girl. Seen as somebody as he would never be able to get, even though at one point he said that he could get anybody he wanted. But things that he told some of his classmates were weird. And then that way he's found his target. And for him, it was just a case of choosing his opportunity, and he chose that opportunity to do so because he probably believed that, oh, it's party thing. Maybe most people are out. Thank you for the follow, Stacey. The whole case is incredibly sad, Boggy. I agree. When you see the videos of them in the takeaway van, you just wish you can. Thank you so much for the heart me, Lynn. Informing was basically avoiding. Yes, he did because of his visual neurological disorder. Thank you for the follow, Stacey. I think the obsession with Maddie come after. I think the obsession with Maddie came after he had found a target. I hope you're well, Lynn. Thank you for the follow, Beverly Northern. Thank you for the follow, Shez. Always believe he chose upstairs. Sound doesn't travel if he started downstairs. But yeah. So I'm happy to get to this bit. So obviously we now know that a year after he's pleaded guilty, and he did have the opportunity. So a lot of this is going to be a lot of legal jargon. So I apologise in advance. I got as much information as I possibly could to be able to present it to everybody because there's a lot of confusion surrounding the petition. Now, this isn't a petition for an appeal. And the courts have actually got 30 days to decide, to make a decision if indeed this is fine. But we'll cover this as well. So his handwritten affidavit and petition, and obviously I've got in the pictures, I've also got the statement to the New York Times. It's a long explanation. I've actually got on this post, this is a long post with legal explanation outlined as best I can. Thank you for the follow, Bills. Now, Bryan Kohberger filed a handwritten petition for post-conviction relief and a supporting affidavit to withdraw his 2025 guilty plea, claiming he was coerced into confessing by his public defence team. Kohberger, who is currently serving 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole for the 2022 quadruple murder of the University of Idaho students, now asserts actual innocence and is demanding a trial. The details of this petition and affidavit outline several key allegations. Thank you so much for the heart me, Shazzy. Against his former legal counsel. So the core allegations in this petition, so it's the withheld of evidence. Kohberger alleged his public defenders failed to inform him of crucial exculpatory discovery during plea negotiations, specifically clumps of unknown hair found in victim Ethan Chapin's hand. Now this hair, which I explained earlier, but obviously you weren't here, so I'm going to just really quickly explain that bit. When the debris was found in his hands, this could have simply been as simple as when his hand fell. It's not an appeal, however, Cheyenne. It's definitely not an appeal. He's not allowed to appeal. He had 46 days to actually put an appeal for ineffective counsel. Well, that expired, so that's why it's now being classed as a post-conviction relief statement. So the Ethan's hand was found down the bed and we all saw where the blood dripped down, right? And so the debris and stuff in his hands could have specifically been a case of it was a mixture of his hair and Xana's hair. So yes, the hair could have been from absolutely anybody. Anybody that was in that room or that had been in that room, the hair can be from absolutely anybody, which is why it was classed as debris. And so the details of his petition and affidavits outlines several key allegations against his former legal counsel. The core allegations in the petition. So withheld evidence. Mr Temu Bundy alleges his public defenders failed to inform him of crucial exculpatory discovery during his plea negotiations, specifically the clumps of unknown hair found in thank you so much for the heart, me, Julie May. Ethan Chapin's hands. Coerced confession. He claims his lawyer convinced him that his actual guilt did not matter and instructed him to lie under oath to enter a guilty plea. Fabricated death row threats. The affidavit states his legal team manipulated him into a plea deal, telling him an elaborated, fabricated story about the horrific conditions of a small 8x8-foot Idaho death row cell to scare him. False sentencing promises. He asserted his counsel gave him gross misrepresentation and false promises regarding the privileges and conditions a life sentence would provide him. Now, the legal context and next steps. Now, this is a lot, I apologise. You wouldn't have done the murders when you allowed. That's by chosen. Yeah. Somewhere out with. So yeah, ultimately more delusions. You're right. So the high-risk strategy. By attempting to rescind his plea agreement, Mr Temu Bundy risks... Yes, it is. But absolutely love the conservancies. Risks reopening his criminal case, which could restore the possibility of a death penalty or lead to separate federal capital charges. And capital charges itself hold a death sentence. Procedural deadlines. Under Idaho law, Mr Temu Bundy had to file for post conviction relief within a strict time frame, making his deadline for the first week of September 2026. It's the only name that I could think of, and that's Temu Bundy. Also, I hate calling him by his name. Making his decision the first week of September 2026. The expected outcome. State prosecutors have 30 days to respond to the petition. Legal experts heavily doubt the petition's success, calling his claims weak. It's fine. I'm glad that it's a difficult case. So even if I'm making somebody laugh, it's better than it being really quite doom and gloom. Because Mr Temu Bundy explicitly swore under oath in 2025 that his guilty plea was, yes, I know he would hate it, voluntary and knowing. Analysts suggesting this is a tactical move to force a denial, allowing him to appeal to the Supreme Court and prolong the legal process. Now, the public and victim family response. The Consalves family released a statement to the press. The family of victim Kaylee Consalves criticised the media attention given to his claims. Thank you so much for the white doves, Julie May. Media attention given to his claims. Comparing Mr Temu Bundy to a mosquito, you just can't seem to spot who is simply looking for an excuse to leave solitary confinement and to get back into the spotlight. The Idaho Attorney General, A.G. Raul Labrador, stated that his office stands ready to do whatever is necessary to ensure justice remains carried out. The Uniform Post-Conviction Procedure Act, UPCPA, found under the Idaho Code Title 19, Chapter 49, is the primary statutory framework governing post-conviction appeals and challenges in Idaho. In Idaho, a post-conviction petition is technically classified as new civil action rather than a direct criminal appeal, meaning the prisoner bears the burden of proving their constitutional rights were violated. Thank you for the follow, Sandy B. The specific statutes within the Idaho Code dictate how post-conviction relief operates include, and this is where it does get really long, and I'm sorry, but I think people need to hear the jargon at the same time, because then it makes it more of a clearer understanding why it's a post-conviction relief as opposed to it being an appeal, because those are very much the key aspects of the difference of this. Now, the grounds for relief, which is Idaho Code number 19-4901. The statute outlines that the only acceptable legal basis upon which a conviction... Yes, the fact it's not in the spotlight either. Yes, I do 100% think that Olivia's impact statement really grated on him because she annihilated him. which a convicted individual can petition to vacate, set aside, or correct a sentence. Mr Temu Bundy's petition relies on several core grounds detailed in this provision. Constitutional violations, claims that the conviction violated the US or Idaho constitutions. That's what all this change of plea stuff could be about. Thank you so much for the You're Awesomes, Julie May. Example, ineffective assistance of counsel under the Sixth Amendment. Newly discovered evidence. Evidence exists that could have not been reasonably produced at the time of the plea/trial and significantly undermines the conviction. Involuntary plea. Assertions that a guilty plea was entered under coercion, fraud, or misrepresentation. The filing to number 2, the filing deadlines, which is Idaho Code 4902. Plus the show's gone out as well. Yeah, I do think that the timing of this was not a mistake. Time limits for filing are strictly enforced under Idaho law. So the standard deadline, a petition must be filed within 1 year from the expiration of the time for appeal from the date of the appellate court's final judgment or from the date of the judgment of conviction if no direct appeal is taken. Anyone know if the Idaho program? Oh yes, it's brand new, only dropped today. Tolling for material facts. Exceptions to the 1 year rule only exists if a petitioner establishes an issue based on newly discovered facts that could not have been known through the due diligence within the timeline. Number 3, verification of evidence requirements, which is Idaho Code 19-4903. Idaho law does not allow generic complaints. It strictly mandates how a petitioner must construct their claim. The affidavit requirements. The petitioner must be verified by the petitioner under oath. It must specify the precise facts within the petitioner's personal knowledge. Supporting documentation. So the affidavits, records, or other documentation corroborating allegations must be attached to the petition. Mr Temu Bundy used the statute to submit his formal personal affidavit outlining the alleged conversations between his defense team. And the summary dismissal, Idaho, which is number 4, Idaho Code 19-4906. Hi, Danny Bear. The statute provides Idaho state prosecutions and judges, thank you so much for the heart me, Danny, with the expedited path to diminish weak filings without full evidentiary hearing. Failure to state a claim if the application, affidavits, and court records conclusively show that the petitioner is not entitled to relief, the court can issue a notice of intent to dismiss. The 20-day rule. The court must give the petitioner 20 days to respond to a summary dismissal notice to provide additional facts before the petition is formally thrown out. And number 5, standard for capital cases, which is Idaho Code 19-2719. While Kohberger, called him his name, successfully negotiated away the death penalty in the 2025 plea deal, if his petition successfully rescinds the plea, his case returns to a capital murder framework. Under this statute, the expected... It's a lot, yeah, Temu Bundy, Mr Temu Bundy. It's because I wrote it properly when I wrote it up, so... So the expedited single procedure. All post-conviction claims and direct... Thank you so much for the TikToks, Julie. All post-convictions claim and direct appeals in the death penalty case must be filed simultaneously within a strictly enforced 42-day, I said 46, but 42-day deadline following sentence to avoid dragging out the execution timeline. If Mr Temu Bundy's post-conviction petition, thank you so much for the follow and the heart me as well. Bundy would be laughing at him, yeah, he totally would. post-conviction petition is successful, his 2025 guilty plea will be completely vacated. His convictions are raised and the case will reset to pre-plea stage. Legal experts emphasise that a successful petition does not mean he goes free. Instead, it triggers a high-stakes reset of the entire judicial process. The immediate legal procedural consequences of a successful petition include... I'm near the end, I promise. I think. I told you this was a long... I had to, before I was able to put a post out, I had to make sure that I had every single bit of knowledge that I possibly could and to be able to it's a summarisation. Thank you so much for the heart, me, Karen. It's a summarisation in a degree because what I read was so much longer. So this... It's fine. Honestly, I just thought, thank you for dropping it in. I just thought maybe the explanation makes it a little bit clearer as well. So, the immediate legal and procedural consequences of a successful petition include confession erased, the formal admission of guilt Kohberger made before Judge Stephen Hippler in 2025 would be legally nullified. The statements inadmissible. Any self-incriminating statements he made specifically to secure the plea agreement generally could not be weaponized against him. It is really complicated. By the prosecution, because Temu Bundy fans think he's coming home. Yeah, they totally do. By prosecution during a future trial. A full capital murder trial begins. A case reset. The case returns to the Idaho County District Court docket for a full trial preparation. Jury selection. A massive, highly publicised jury selection process would begin, a procedure previously estimated to take 2 weeks on its own. The state's evidence. Prosecutors would be forced to present their entire case to a jury, including the knife sheath DNA, surveillance footage, and mobile phone tracking data. 3. The death penalty is restored. Plea protections voided in the 2025 plea deal is what legally barred the state from pursuing capital punishment. Yes, he could end up with the death penalty indeed. Vacating the deal instantly removes that protection. Capital punishment back on the table. Idaho state prosecutors would immediately refile their intent to seek the death penalty and potential federal charges. Federal prosecutors could separately step in to file federal capital charges against them because the knife was taken over between two different states. It crossed state borders, which is why federal could then be enforced. And then number 4, immediate custody charges. Solitary confinement reset. Mr Temu Bundy would most likely be moved out of long-term maximum security state housing and back into a local county jail facility to accommodate daily trial logistics. Pre-style status. He would remain held without bail as a high-flight risk capital murder defendant. Number 5, his constitutional standards restored. Right to appeal by pleading guilty in 2025. Mr Temu Bundy signed away his rights to file future direct appeals. If the appeal is thrown out, all standard appellate pathways allowing him to challenge eventual trial rulings all the way to... I reckon the long way home he took was enough to get rid of the case. Yeah, I agree too. 100%. He went over that water as well. And that's why that will never be found. Unless he buried it. Because there was mud found on the shovel in the back of his car. They couldn't determine exactly where the mud had came from. And also somebody believed to have seen Mr Temu Bundy randomly with a shirt on in the woods where there'd be no reason for that. So yeah, and that was before he was seen in the shops. Right, where was I? Right, so eventual trial rulings all the way to the US Supreme Court would be fully restored. Mr Temu Bundy has not been appointed a new attorney and is currently representing himself, but filings for a new appointment has taken place with no names released or linked. I'll see you shortly, Hattie. Do you think the other 2 victims just got in the way or did he get cocky. They got in the way. So he never expected to have to kill two, because Kaylee was in the bed beside Maddie, and Xana disturbing him. He then had to kill 4. And because this all happened, and even if he did manage to lock eyes with Dylan at the time, what probably saved her life was the fact that her phone was probably not actually lit up with the glow of the phone. Or if he did see her, the way he sped the hell out of there, where he almost knocked somebody over and almost crashed his car as he turned that corner, he probably thought the police were already on their way. So there would have been no time for him to commit a 5th murder. And possibly by that, yeah, it was probably spent by then. So no, there's numerous ways that she then also he wasn't expecting like Dylan to be there either, because Dylan was initially in the basement room beside Bethany's. So yeah, so there's no names released or linked with him, but there has been filings for a new appointment. I've seen the court document today. In his handwritten petition for post-conviction relief filed on the 27th of July 2026, the court records show, thank you so much for the heart me, Georgie, that Mr Temu Bundy is acting pro se, so representing himself, while the petition explicitly includes a formal request for the Ada County District Court to appoint new legal counsel to assist him. Judge has not yet granted that request, and the current status of his legal representation involves the following procedures. The current representation status is self-representation because he is suing his former public defence team for ineffective assistance for his previously led attorney, Ann Taylor, and her team can no longer represent him due to an obvious conflict of interest. The state's response window. The presiding district judge must review Mr Temu Bundy's initial petition to determine if it is enough factual merit to proceed and future counsel appointment. If the judge finds the petition has valid basis and schedules an evidentiary hearing, the court will then assign a new independent public defender or conflict counsel to represent him at public expense. Until that ruling is made, Kohberger remains his own legal counsel. So you'll be hearing a lot of people that are saying that he's representing himself, he's 100% representing himself, but he's not. Thank you so much for the follow, Beth. I bet she's absolutely fuming. Do you know, and I said this as soon as this dropped on Monday, and I was so mad. And I was so mad for the families. Like, who's not heard Ben Mogan's witness impact statement yet? I have it. I believe I do have it on in the playlist, the Idaho 4 playlist that I've got on my profile. I don't think I actually posted them all. I was supposed to, but Ben Mogan, he's a broken man. It's believed he had to get some psychiatric help afterwards for his mental health, and he said that he only lived for Maddie, and he was only clean for Maddie. There was so much more that he wanted to say, but he couldn't. And when I heard this on Monday, my first thoughts were to exactly his witness impact statement of how much a broken man he was at the time. And I feel for them so badly. I've got the affidavit. So the affidavit of facts in support of the post-conviction petition. So I'm going to say his name as it is because it is on the petition. So Bryan C. Kohberger, being first duly sworn on oath, deposes and says it is hereby declared that during an attorney-client discussions, most of which included all members of Bryan C. Kohberger's immediate family, petitioner was convinced to falsely confess to capital murder and felony burglary by coercion, disinformation, false promises, and the withholding of exemplary discovery. The following is material to the inception of the plea. Counsellor's failure to inform petitioners of exemplary discovery received during plea discussions, namely clumps of unknown hair found in Ethan Chapin's hands, as well as a failure to further inquiry. 2. Petitioner was convinced that actual guilt was, like, I've read this more than once, and even thank you so much for the shards of hope. I've read this more than once, and his writing is horrendous. And it's still, there's still sometimes that I'm even looking at it on a bigger screen as well. That's annoying. Petitioner was convinced that actual guilt was not an important factor in considering plea acceptance. Death row was imminent and advised entering a false plea. 3. Gross misrepresentation and promises regarding what a life sentence would immediately afford petitioner, and a gross misrepresentation of death row in Idaho, including an elaborate fabricated story of counsellors' horrific experience in touring an actual 8x8 death row cell, all communicated to petitioner and his family, allegedly by the IDOC through counsel, lost continuing threats and promises made to induce a plea agreement. Well, we all have, if you've not already, Mr Temu Bundy has already requested on multiple occasions to change to J Block because he's getting bullied. Because they've said things and they've allegedly peed and pooed in his food, and allegedly stepped on shards of glass when he's gone to things, and he's allegedly getting tortured through the vents in the walls where prisoners are keeping him awake all day and night, saying things to him that they're going to, you know, him. I mean, he complained about his bananas. So the... Here we go. Say it now. I've said this before, so I watch Lockdown 23 and 1, who had covered Bryan's crying in jail, and he said that due to the nature of the multiple petitions and the multiple appearances, and due to the fact that it's a very high nature of this, like, this is all credit to Lockdown 23 and 1 over on YouTube, that, yeah, it's Temu Bundy. 100% is Temu Bundy. He would have had an immediate target on his back because he wanted the spotlight. Mr. Temu Bundy was desperate for the spotlight. He wanted to be the next Ted Bundy, and instead he, well, in essence, failed. It's a horrible thing to say, given the fact that there's been the 4 in the middle of these pictures, of this picture, are dead. So I mean no disrespect in the slightest to the families or the actual victims themselves, but he is Mr. Temu Bundy. Now, but bear in mind, he is an Idaho maximum security institution, so I mean, even the prisoners are not very nice people in the first place. He wanted to be noticed, but not in the way he wanted. Yeah, he wanted to be infamous. But obviously says that the address of it is there. So much of what he does is Bundy's playbook. Well, so the petition and the affidavits that's been put forward, no attorney would have been able to touch this anyway. So, and because it's a conflict of counsel, and Taylor's team wouldn't be able to touch this in the slightest. So everything that he is doing, he's got no choice but to do it pro se, which is obviously representing himself. So that is why he is naturally at this precise moment representing himself, but there is court filings that should this petition be taken seriously and he is granted a trial, he will be automatically given a attorney. Now, public offender attorney, but he would be given attorney counsel to start with if it is. Thank you so much for the follow, Becky. So if it is the fact that there is a poor wee incel bored in the cell, wants to cause some drama and gets a few days out. I mean, if it goes to trial, not only does he open up the death penalty, not only state, but also federal, but also he gets to be held in a holding cell, well, ultimately holding jail, county jail, as opposed to being held. So he would be put back to the jail under Ada County Court building. So yeah. But it basically says, so the state concisely, number 7 of his petition states, state concisely all grounds on all the grounds on which you base your application for post-conviction relief, and it was obviously use additional seats if necessary. A, ineffective assistance of counsel during criminal proceedings, and I think it's so wrong. B, I never thought of that actually. Probably thinks she's smart enough to just keep a hold of it. You never know. Actual Ted Bundy managed to escape a couple of times, unless he decided death penalty was a better way out, or he thought the death penalty cells were a better way out. So, jail block, the death penalty jail block, because he's asked multiple times to be moved to block J, and that's been refused. But most likely because one of the things that I've got a lot of respect for Ann Taylor, although I despised her for it and I hated her for it, but by golly, she's a damn good attorney. Every single thing that she could possibly have thought of to get the death penalty removed from the table, she did. She tried to get evidence removed. She managed to seal a lot of the evidence that we now know. She even tried to put forward that he lack thereof of understanding about the court, the whole thing, which was incorrect straight away because they were able to slap the. I've got it on my profile. The document, his essay on murder scenes and stuff like that. Like, he knew exactly, and like I've said, and I hate to say it, he's not the smartest person in the room. Not at all. He thought he was multiple times. But he's book smart. But like all criminals, he's got a certain level of stupidity. So for him to say ineffective counsel is wrong. Now, it could have possibly been that the reason why Ann Taylor had told him, nah, you've got no way beating this, is because she's seen something during discovery that has been not just how they got the DNA. His face and my family's read out the impact statements, especially Olivia, which is why I reshared this. Literally reshared it on Monday, and like 2-3 hours later, this all came out, and I was just like, was not expecting that at all. But plea not knowingly or voluntarily entered because it was induced by unkept promises. Thank you so much for the white roses, Julie May. So was it the fact that he would have got told the truth? Do you know that it would have been a case of probably not these specific words. Nah, mate, you're not getting out of this at all. I've tried everything that I can for you. There's nothing else that I can do. This goes to jail. This goes to trial. You get the death penalty, mate. not those specific words. Obviously, it would have been outlined a lot nicer than that, and it would have been really respectful. I'm just as it was. He he was desperate. Nobody who messed up. Nobody. He was a desperate nobody who messed up. Yes, and it was the sheath. I mean, like, the thing is, his fans say he didn't plead guilty, but he did. It was written. In fact, it's on my profile somewhere of his written agreement of being guilty. It's on my profile. It's also on my profile when Judge Stephen Hippler said, are you doing this? Are you pleading guilty knowingly? Obviously, I'm going up with the outcome with no false promises. You've not been coerced into, all that stuff. And he stood up and said, yes. Then, when Judge Hippler said, thank you so much for the finger hearts. Judge Hippler said as well about the federal burglary charge. How do you plead? And he sat there and said guilty. When each and every single one of the victims, so Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan and Zana, each one was read as an individual charge. Thank you so much for the perfumes, Georgie. He said guilty again and again and again and again. So he did specifically say those actual words. He said it in a court of law in front of his family, in front of the victims' families, in front of his defence team, which were 4 attorneys, in front of the DA and prosecution, and in front of Judge Stephen Hippler. So he categorically stated that he was guilty. Thank you so much for the follow, Little Paws Imperials. So no, no matter what, I mean, he's been forgotten about and he hates that, so he's going to cry like a baby to get attention. Yes, I know, and he'll be obviously probably he'll have known that this would have been coming out. He probably would have been mocked by his fellow inmates as well. Gonna be famous again, Temu Bundy. Famous for all the wrong reasons. And the plea not voluntarily entered because of threats asserted by petitioners and legal counsel. So they told him what it was going to be like in jail. And Mr Temu's got to jail, and it's so much worse than what he thought. So much worse than what he thought. And Mr Temu Bundy thinks that he's going to cry and get out. Other prisoners have said... I shouldn't laugh, but it's funny. Other prisoners have been mocking him through the air filter shaft things and probably shouting out the window to him and stuff. Allegedly never slept when he was first taken up into the block that he's in as well. And they've allegedly said to him that they've peed and pooed in his food. And he even filed a sexual harassment complaint because they said they were going to rape him up them. Basically. To be fair, but what one day someone will get to him. Yeah, what gets me in this one as well, because obviously he must have been a little bit he must be a little bit butthurt as well. So in the petition as well. So 9, if your application is based upon failure of counsel to adequately represent you, state concisely and in detail what counsel failed to do in representing your interest. So, A, failure to disclose or review exemplary evidence, i.e. unknown hair in Chapin's hand during plea discussions. B, counsel's insistence that petitioner's plea need not be truthful despite petitioner's vehement denial of actual guilt. C, promises made by counsel regarding LWAP life without parole status, i.e. immediate contact visits, freedom of movement and employment, or elaborate lies of death row life. And obviously states specifically the relief you seek, a withdrawal of a guilty plea. So it was actually more of a debris thing. So Ethan's hand was found down, well, I can't remember what hand it is now, but Ethan's hand was basically found down the beds. So the hair debris could have been absolutely anybody. So anybody, so it would have been, he would have just picked up whatever. So it could have been his. It was believed to be his hair. A few months ago, I remember seeing that. But it could also have been Zana's as well. And also a lot of debris dirt, just from, obviously, down the side of the bed. So now it's a reach. Mr Temu Bundy's statements to the New York Times, because the New York Times is the only person that he would speak to, and they put this behind a paywall. But yeah, I'll never forget that outside picture of the blood down the outside wall either. Ever forget that. Totally ingrained in the memory. And when it was shown again in the documentary today, it was just like and there's the blood. So Mr Temu Bundy's direct statements ultimately to the New York Times, and huge respect to the University of Idaho and other case discussions group for getting this, because it was behind a paywall. So over a year later, it is self-evident that in the state v. Temu Bundy, justice was not served. Unanswered questions seem to multiply with each piece of discovery unsealed, and the public demands the truth. Unfortunately, the truth shall never be derived from the state's, thank you for the heart, me Sarah, myopic narrative, a work of fiction which is yet to evolve since the PCA, the probable cause affidavit, was released nearly 4 years ago, and its faulty premises, I hope you're well, Sarah, were never challenged at trial. Circumnavigated by a broken plea. No, look, it's not how they used the book. The trial never provided the public, there was no trial. Clarity conducive to closure and justice shall remain objectively miscarried unless the plea is withdrawn. I hereby declare my intention to enter a not guilty plea and welcome the state the opportunity to prove their case at trial, as well as to again file for death penalty. My actual innocence is my truth, and the plea hinged by false promises and blatant disinformation must be withdrawn. Thank you for all who believe in my innocence and continue to critically analyse the case. I send my love to my family, who have never wavered in their belief in who I am and their belief in my innocence. So that was a statement. And that was the... Oh, I've got that twice now. And the other one that I was looking for, I apologise because I'm obviously hunting through my own group, as well as what I feel if he was not guilty, he wouldn't be able to sit and listen to everyone what's saying. Yep, I agree. So many fans prepare to fly to his trial, and all his fans is horrific. all the horrible things they did in court. How many fucking deserved every single bit of it. So the Gonsalves family page put out this on Monday. So the Gonsalves family statement: the mosquito you just can't seem to swat. This is what Kohberger and his following have become to this family. We read Mr. Baker's story, and he must be so proud of him for speaking with Mr. Kohberger, because the story didn't have much else in it. He deserved it, but I don't think he can listen and no reaction at all. If innocent, I agree. Other than a guilty man claiming he is innocent once again, nothing in the story or Kohberger's statement does he allude to the fact that he knowingly, voluntarily, and intelligently admit to murdering the 4 victims of this tragedy: Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan. Quite to the contrary, he appeared in court in a hearing in front of a judge with his 4 lawyers. He did this after deciding not to leave his fate and facts of the case up to a jury to decide his guilt. He never cried wolf or claimed he was uninformed, pressured, or it had been issues with the discovery that he and his counsel had for 2 years that he thought should have been challenged. He admitted to guilt. And asked whether he was actually guilty, he said yes. I am sure there will be a hearing, as that is how the legal process works, and the defendant will get another day in court. A nice break from his solitary confinement, getting to go for a ride, maybe some different food, photos taken, and the attention all back on him and his innocence. The real issue is that if as much energy was put into honouring the victims in this case as set to trying to set a guilty man free, there would be statues of the victims on every corner with parks and days honouring their ultimate sacrifice, their lives at the hands of a narcissist. Regardless of how this turns out, our family is 100% ready. An actual trial this time. Let's go! We are confident he will get a death penalty that he escaped by pleading guilty the first time around. This is just an absolute waste of time and taxpayers' money. It is a disgrace, so we are moving on. Lol. I guess I better get me death row records shirt for every day of the week now. So they've said multiple times, bring it on. They believe he's 100% guilty, and I do too. I don't, if this gets honoured, bye Bryan, because the firing squad is waiting for you. And I've had pro-burgers at me in my DMs and comments on Facebook, not publicly, not like I'll for the longest time. I got banned for a group on Facebook because they refused to listen to an actual proper official argument, to the point that they kicked me through the whole group because I had a different opinion and I came with them with facts. It's why when I'm incredibly grateful for Hattie for it, when somebody kept challenging this and coming up with what people have to understand, they were drunk at the time, so easier to overpower. I agree. And also the surviving roommates were incredibly intoxicated at the time, specifically Dylan, who was only freshly 19. When I've argued this, I'm called all sorts of things. I found out that one of the admins of the group was actually an ex-criminal, and it was party house. They had a party that day. In fact, they had a party that afternoon. They had a party the night before. I have seen so much since November 2022. I have seen lives destroyed. I have seen the fact that I have heard of the fact that some of the friends who were there that morning got death threats. I have heard some of the most disgusting things to be said from the surviving roommates that it is disgusting. I have seen a significant amount of victim blaming for the 4 that are dead. I have seen such ridiculous slander and lies from these people that will defend Mr. Temu Bundy like their life depends on it. Yes, they have been through enough. I have seen a video. It was a part of an interview that Kaylee's mum had done, and she made me cry. She said of how people said there are 5 victims and it's the Idaho 5 because there was a miscarriage of justice, and it's disgusting. They call Mr. Temu Bundy a victim. He's not. He's the culprit. People still say the surviving victims are guilty or terrible. Yes, they are. Everything about those people that blindly follow Mr. Temu Bundy are disgusting. Those that there is actually a true crime allegedly a true crime content creator, but all she talks about is this case. And she sits like this. As if we're going to believe that. Because if anything, that did that the first time I sat and watched her, I was just like, you absolute donkey. But that's what she does. Yeah, American. Her name is Natasha. Yes, Natasha. I have said to TikTok about 1,000,000 times that I do not care or give a damn about this goddamn creator. And she is terrible. She is absolutely horrific. Absolutely horrific. Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. Although I don't know how much drama llama she is, actually, to be fair, because I don't watch her enough. 20 minutes of watching her once was all I needed to know. She is absolutely horrendous. She's horrible. Hi, girl Dave. Like, she's clearly never done her homework or whatever narrative that she decided to spout in the first place, that's what she's stuck with. She's saying this case is dangerous, so she's protecting herself. No, but see, I'd have to actually go on AR live in order to find her, because I don't want to search for her, because then TikTok will think that I'm watching her. So I'd have to click onto her live, so it means that she would see me coming in order to block her. And I don't want to step foot in the live. Her name's Natasha. Is it True Crime Natasha or something along those lines? Or Natasha True Crime. She's an American woman, and oh god, she's horrible. Absolutely horrible. She hasn't showed up on my feed for the longest time. I do a couple of posts about this, and it's like, oh god. And I've done it again. You know, when you can scroll on the For You page and you hold on it and you say not interested in this live creator, or not interested, and it says not interested in this creator. I've done it so many times, but they still push her on me, and it's like, fuck off. I think I'm just going to her page. But then I need to search for her. Yeah. And if you don't agree with her, I just swear at you. See, I've seen somebody, when the 20 minutes that I watched her, and that was obviously just from the For You page itself, and clearly somebody was like arguing with her, and shit. Thank you so much for the follow, Shazzy. And it was horrible. I mean, I've blocked so many people, you know. Cheers for the heads up. I don't know who she is, but she's in midnight. Welcome. I've blocked so many people. I've covered this case that call themselves true crime content creators. I mean, my block list is massive, and it's just because of this case. And if they had a valid argument, I'd be like, okay. And yes, people might have thought that me having a go at those people were like, but that's just literally because everyone's entitled to their opinion, but she's so rude to anyone who's not agreeing with her. Right, there was somebody in here, actually there was 2 people in here earlier, that they eventually got muted and blocked, or blocked and muted. And purely for the fact that every time that was coming at them with fact, and that was fact that was proven, they kept saying there was another person involved, or then they were obviously blaming Dylan. I don't have that shit. Like, at all. Like, I believe that Dylan didn't know how to react. She had no idea what had actually happened. You can even hear the 911 call, which I played. Like, I played it. I let everybody hear it. You can hear that there's somebody is, yeah, CCTV at 12:30 a.m. But the thing is, at 12:30 a.m, there probably was people coming back to the home. Because we're going back to the home because Bethany got back roughly about that time. Dylan maybe about after. But Dylan had a friend with her. But they're not seeming to comprehend the fact that it actually categorically stated in Xana's autopsy that they found food in her stomach, which was consistent to what she had ordered for the Jack in the Box. And when people still claim that they were murdered so much earlier, and it's like, open your eyes, please. It's not difficult to... Oh, should I kiss it on? Yeah, tied up in the lounge. There was the other pair of things that I heard that was done elsewhere, and then they were brought back. That's why there's not much blood about. Well, that wasn't true. Because me actually, remember the first hour, I was just like, oh, it doesn't seem like there's much blood there. And I went back, and then more pictures were released, and I went back through them. I was like, Jesus, there's a lot of blood there. And unfortunately, which the picture got removed, but I know it's still on, watch people die and stuff. So I did way back in the day. I've got so much on my Discord about this. If I was going to talk about it, I'd be here for about a week. I'm not even lying. I wish I was lying, Cheyenne. The documents for what we've just got are huge. And I just thought I'd say, I've been through the Kohberger's FOIA requests, where they took a lot of information out to make it look like Mr Temu Bundy was guilty. I've went through their FOIA as well. So, which they got from the FOIAs that had already been released, and they took a lot out. And they crept and clocked things, and you can see a little bit of editing on some of the documents here and there. So I've seen them as well. It's not that, I say this, that he's guilty because I believed he was. The evidence was stacking. The K-Bar receipt, the fact that he used his credit card to buy gift cards to use on his family's Amazon shopping to his family's home address in Pennsylvania. He took it over state lines. It wasn't found in his flat or in his car or in Pennsylvania when he was back home. He was trying to find another one to replace what was missing, what wasn't there. The cell phone pings, the fact that he never returned to Linda Lane, King Road, all the rest of it after that. Yeah, I still don't know. I don't think it's been released who those female IDs were. The fact that there were the inside of his car had been proven to have been cleaned to a degree where it was Spartan or sparse. There was nothing there. But when they tore apart, no, I'll speak to you tomorrow. Yeah, it's a very good documentary, very good documentary. I watched it personally myself. And then they obviously showed other pictures of his vehicle as well, other CCTV images of his vehicle as well, where it was clearer. A lot clearer. A hell of a lot clearer. But good night, Sarah. I'm going to have to wrap it up soon as well because I'm up at 6 o'clock because I'm doing some volunteering tomorrow at Five Sisters Zoo, which is going to be so much fun. I never went through half of the stuff that I was going to as well. Yeah, he did. He drove around 4 times from 3:30, sorry. People, The evidence against him stacked and kept stacking. And 64 terabytes of evidence is huge. Do you know that's the same size of the Department of Justice in America, all the documents included? When I saw exactly what 64 terabytes were, I was just like there is a... Yeah, and how we never hit that person. He was so close to hitting that person. You see the shadow just, and no more. And I think he tailgated it out of there. Hightailed it out of there. Tailgated it out of there. No, tailgate is... Anyway, hightailed it out of there. Hightail. Sounds about right. Because he thought the police were already on the way. But yeah, I mean... And his alibi was ridiculous as well. That he went off stargazing on a cloudy night. I don't know if anybody remembers the police body cam footage that was released of the drinkers in near the place, and you could see like one of the bedrooms and stuff. It was Kaylee's bedroom, you could see. Because she was obviously home at that time, and then people were like, "Oh, you heard screaming and stuff." No, it just sounded like people were having a bit of carry on because it was a, you know, people were drinking, and they claim that that's the time. But the proofs and the fact of the partially digested food that fell in line with that fell in line with the Jack in the Box. Sorry, I was just being nosy at the comments there, so apologies. The fact that they knew what phone it was purchased on, they knew what account it was purchased on, they knew what time they got home. I mean, if they say it happened at 12:30, so how do you account for the fact that Kaylee and Maddie were seen at the back of 1 in the morning at the food truck? If he's innocent, like he's claiming, then Sarah's my dad, lol, how he thinks he can get it clear, isn't it? Yeah, there was blood actually found in his car, in the cushions, which the Mr Temu Bundy's stands all like to ignore, because they couldn't get a direct DNA match because of how meticulous it was cleaned. And then people were like, well, it couldn't have been that clean because look at the mess on the outside. So the difference was there probably wasn't much that they had to do with the outside because, you know, he wanted to make it look like he drove around. So he was quite happy for his car to be all mucky and muddy the way it was. He definitely cleaned the insides, 100%. The ensuring that when he was at Costco, making sure he was seen on camera by talking to people. Why else would he, I wouldn't surprise, 100% it got rid of his clothes. The fact that the Dickie suit has never been found. And the Dickie suit is obviously you think he Michael Myers and the Halloween movies, and obviously the blue one that he wears obviously was a black one that they had a receipt of that was proof that he had bought a Dickie suit, was never found. And that's a waterproof overalls, all black. He had a balaclava on, they had the proof of the purchase of the balaclava, but they never found out that. You know, and why else was he so determined to get rid of his big bushy? I mean, you're saying that I can't say anything because my eyebrows are a bit bushy at the moment as well because they totally need to be plucked, but they're hidden by the French, so it's fine. But he had his big bushy eyebrows and making sure that they were constantly gone when they were seen at the plea hearing. You actually saw, you could literally look at all his appearances and watch his eyebrows slowly disappear because he starts getting rid of them because of the bushy eyebrow thingy. It's true! It is true. I mean, literally. Kath, I was just talking about the Idaho 4 case and Bryan's petition. That pic he did the next morning with his thumb up. Yeah. It was creepy. Thank you so much for the follow, Kath. No, I believe that I believe that they've got the right man. Because if they never had the right man, there would have been more murders. But obviously we're talking about his eyebrows, you know, because big bushy eyebrows, and they literally like slowly from when you first saw him, and that was when obviously everyone will remember it. Why'd you do it, Bryan? Thank you so much for the go popular. Why'd you do it, Bryan? Why'd you do it? Video. Yeah, gloves at his parents' house and putting his things into wee Ziploc baggies. Weird. Very weird. I'm proving that he was putting his rubbish in other places, and I mean, it's not like the houses are so close together, so you would have to properly walk around for that as well. I wish they would release his arrest. All they did was release his picture of his arrest. I wish they would have released the arrest. I wish that body cam. I've always wanted to see the body cam footage of thingy. Thank you for being here, and thank you for helping out in modding as well. I know I'm a bit more like chilled out now, so I appreciate it, especially the fact that we've got a couple of people that just want to cause an argument. But no, literally, like, I appreciate you so much, and the gifts and taps and stuff like that. I can't believe you've got me 40k. That's insane. But no, 100%, I do believe I will, like, but I think I might have to wrap this up myself because I need to be up at 6 o'clock, and that's only in 7 hours. Well, 7 hours, 6 minutes. So 4 minutes even. So I might have to obviously wrap this up a little bit. But thank you all for being here. Thank you for even listening to me when I was explaining all that legal jargon in regards to what the petition actually is. Just to obviously make the definitive definition between the petition and an appeal, just so it would make a little bit, because I didn't understand it at first as well, and then obviously so I looked it in. So thank you. Thank you for those that have been respectful. Thank you for the questions as well. It was good to get a little bit of back and forth. Thank you for all the taps. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for all the gifts. Please do, like I said to start with, please do follow each other back. You're all absolutely amazing. Any updates on this? Thank you, Boggy. And you get good sleep too as well, Mirangels. But thank you all. Stay safe, everyone. And I'll see you on the main street saying TikTok. Any updates if I don't come live about it, I will definitely make a video. So I'm sure you'll see me doing some videos as well. But take care, everybody, and good night.